Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I'm here to give you my review of Hellraiser, the reimagining of Clive Barker's 1987 groundbreaking horror film that was just released by HULU. So let's get into it. As the movie begins, a woman named Serena, who is the lawyer of Roland Voigt, a wealthy businessman, investor, and art collector, buys a mysterious ancient puzzle box that Voigt seeks from a man that she meets in Serbia. Next, Voigt and Serena conspire to trap a young boy named Joey into solving the puzzle to unlock its last configuration. Joey manages to do so, but in turn, a blade from the box comes out and stabs him, collecting Joey's blood and changing shape. Moments later, chains from around Voigt's mansion come out to take Joey away, while Voigt prays for someone to appear. 6 years later, Riley, a young woman suffering from drug addiction, crosses paths with the box when she breaks into a warehouse with her boyfriend, Trevor. Riley's brother, Matt, who never liked Trevor and being upset with his sister's flagging addiction recovery, throws her out of his apartment. Riley soon finds herself swallowing some pills and working the box in a nearby park, unlocking its next configuration, but managing to dodge the blade that then protrudes from it, intent on stabbing her. She then starts seeing terrifying, mutilated beings surrounding her. They, of course, are the Cenobites, and one of them tells her that the blade was meant for her, and that if she won't come with them, she has to bring someone else for them. Meanwhile, back at the apartment, Matt, who had a bad dream that Riley might be in trouble, leaves home looking for her. He ends up finding her passed out in the park, and while picking her up, accidentally gets stabbed by the box, which she was still holding. The box collects Matt's blood, and before Riley can wake up, the Cenobites come and take Matt away. Riley blames herself for Matt's disappearance and continues to have visions of the Cenobites. In order to solve the mystery of Matt's disappearance, she tries to find the prior owner of the box, and she and Trevor meet Serena, Voigt's lawyer, whose name was on the shipment from where they stole the box, the shipping container. Serena advises them to stay away from the box and tries to take it away from Riley, which leads to the next configuration being unlocked during a struggle between them. This time around, it was Serena that got hurt by the blade. Riley and Trevor later find out that even Serena seemingly disappeared into thin air, just like Matt did. Adamant that she wants to put a stop to all of this, Riley researches Roland Voigt and discovers his shady history, which includes the fact that some of his associates also disappeared before he did. Assuming there's a connection, she heads to Voigt's mansion, which is now protected by a metal framework. Inside the mansion, Riley comes across Voigt's extensive research on the box and the Cenobites. She learns that the box has 6 configurations, 3 of which she has already unlocked, and that if she manages to reach the final configuration, she'll be granted passage to another realm and an audience with the Cenobite god, which offers a choice to whoever holds the final configuration. These choices, based on the configurations Lament, Lore, Laudrent, Liminal, and Leviathan, represent the ultimate core desires of human beings: life, knowledge, love, sensation, resurrection, and power. Riley, of course, wants to bring her brother Matt back to life, which would be covered under resurrection. Trevor, along with Matt's boyfriend Colin and Colin's roommate Nora, come looking for Riley and find her in Vought's mansion. While Riley explains everything to Colin, someone attacks Nora with the box to unlock the next configuration. The group escapes the mansion in order to save Nora, but the Cenobites manage to get their hands on her anyway. Riley thinks of abandoning her plan to get her brother back after Nora's death, but the Cenobites tempt her with an explicit offer of resurrecting him. When she still opts to back out, the lead Cenobite, aka Pinhead, decides to target her and unlocks the next configuration, causing her blood to get on the blade from the box. The Cenobites then gather to kill her, and she seems to need to kill Trevor in order to survive because he's the only other person there, but instead she attacks the Cenobite who was coming at them, at which point Pinhead kills it. Riley, Colin, and Trevor go back inside the mansion and realize that the Cenobites can't enter, since Vought's mansion is guarded by the metal framework. Riley concocts a plan to kill another Cenobite, the way she killed the previous one, to get the final configuration unlocked by luring one of them in, opening the framework and luring one of them in. Roland Voigt, still alive and having been hiding in his mansion, shows up and attacks Colin with the box, while Riley traps one of the Cenobites. It turns out that it was Voigt who had attacked Nora earlier, and that the things that have been happening are a variation on a plan that he put into motion with Trevor to lure people towards the box, hoping they'd unlock the configurations so that he could again go before the Cenobite god and try to undo what was done to him the first time he unlocked the final configuration. We learned that despite being wealthy, Voight had lusted for more, and he had asked for liminal, aka sensation, when he first unlocked all the configurations. What the Cenobites did was attach an instrument to his upper body that physically pulled on his nerves and prevented him from ever going numb. It was, ugh. Since Pinhead is there, Voight confronts him about the so-called gift they gave him. Pinhead tells him that the gift can't be taken back, it can only be exchanged, and gives him the Leviathan configuration, at which point the Cenobites take Voight to their dimension and transform him into one of their kind. Meanwhile, Riley had taken the box and followed Colin. Riley knew that she was the one who had been given the choice of who to sacrifice, so she saves Colin by stabbing Trevor with the box, as she was rightly angry that he was the one behind all of this, including the death of her brother. Riley then has the last configuration in her hands, and when she's asked by Pinhead what her choice would be, she says that the Cenobites have nothing that she wants. Pinhead takes her answer to be that she's asking for the LAMENT configuration, aka life. The box then moves back to its original square shape, and the Cenobites disappear. Riley drops the box in the mansion and leaves with Colin, believing she made the right choice. She, left her brother dead and just chose nothing, which, yeah, I think that was the right choice. So I enjoyed this movie. I really liked the new look of the Cenobites. I think it was modernized very well. The original Cenobites were wearing clothes, right? They had like leather bodysuits on that were oddly designed. And some of them had apertures on them, holes for various wounds to be exposed and stuff. And that was always cool. It was very S&M. But this time, the Cenobites didn't wear any clothes. Their whole bodies were exposed. So you got to see all of the various wounds and cuts and shapes that their skin took on all over their body. So it was really cool. I thought that the lady playing Pinhead did a good job. I thought she was convincing in the part, but I found the movie a little bit confusing because, for one thing, they never show you how Vought and Trevor knew each other, how they came in contact with each other. And it's a 6-year time jump from the time that he first unlocks, that Voight first unlocks the final configuration until Riley comes across the box. And for 6 years, he was doing what? What? Hiding in the hallways of his mansion? What was he doing for 6 years? There's no reason whatsoever for them to have done a time jump that big. No reason. There's no reason within the narrative why it has to be 6 years later. Normally, when you see that, they start with a character that's a kid, and then they say 10 years later, and now they're 15 if they were 5, and it's they're in high school, and so the story takes place while they're in high school, but they start off showing you what they were like before that, and so they do a time jump of 10 years so that the character can age. But this is not, there's nothing like that in this movie. This is an arbitrary 6-year time jump. And what was he doing for 6 years? What? Just walking around the house with this big thing in his person, pulling on his nerves and stuff. I don't know. It seemed like it might have been a little easier to get people to come into the house and play with the box. Just order some Grubhub, dude. Like, get somebody to come to the house and I didn't understand why they had to go to this elaborate, let's put the box in the thing and then hire a guy to go find a person to go play with the box. What? Didn't make sense to me. Also, since when did the Cenobites leave the people that they deal with once they open the box on Earth instead of taking them back to their realm? Like, I found it weird that he was left behind on Earth, on our plane. Like, what? That was a little unusual. Didn't they drag everyone away? And then the people that got the final configuration, didn't they have to go into the Cenobites' world to talk to the Cenobite god? Isn't that what they showed in one of the earlier movies? So I was confused by that. Also, the Cenobites ultimately want to torture people and want to push them to the limits of pain, but also pleasure, which is not really explored in this at all. and they know that Riley's an addict. Not only does she want her brother back, they know she's an addict. They never tempt her with that. And in the original movies, if I'm not mistaken, that kind of stuff was explored. They would, you know, play on that stuff, and they don't do that here. So I didn't really understand that. The thing is that this film was based on the original novella Hellbound Heart, The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker, as was the original film, but this stayed much closer to the source material. So I don't know. Am I saying that Clive Barker wrote a weird story that doesn't make sense? Because I never read it, but I'm reading that this was based closely on that. So well, Clive Barker made something that didn't make sense. I find that hard to believe. So they must have varied it somewhere along the line. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that's what they do in the original story, but it was weird because having not read the story and having only seen some of the movies, it sort of contradicted that. And not only that, but Clive Barker was really closely involved with this movie from what I'm reading. So I don't understand how it came out the way it did, where it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. So I don't know. And it looks like they left it where there's going to be a sequel because Voight is transformed into a Cenobite. And when Pinhead does this, he says to him, now you can wield power. I guess the power of the Cenobites or the power of the Cenobite god, which I guess they all wield. So, might they make another one? Are they going to continue the franchise? We'll have to see. I think the movie's worth watching. I just didn't think it was any great shakes. I'm sorry to say. I found myself able to follow it right up until the end where I was a little confused, but that's really it. That's all there is to that. So I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back with more movie reviews soon. Until then, I wish you peace and long life.